Hi everybody, thanks for watching. In this video we're going to provide you with some simple ideas for ways that you can effectively start off the school year with blended learning in mind. Kind of going along with this, there's going to be some methods that you can use to develop the grit or perseverance that your students will need to succeed in a blended learning environment. The big message to remember here is that this blended learning is also very new to the students. So just like it's going to take time for teachers to adjust to it, it's going to take time for the students to adjust as well. The students that you're currently teaching or will be teaching this coming year, they've logged a lot of hours in traditional learning environments, so to suddenly drop them in something new and expect them to succeed isn't very realistic. So if you imagine your current classroom, your current group of students you're teaching or will teach, and kind of suddenly introducing them to a blended lesson, you could expect three different responses out of the group. One group of students will excel immediately. Their brains are already adapted to learn independently and monitor their own progress, and you're going to see great things out of them immediately. There will be a second group of students who will sort of languish with the whole process. They'll begin work with the rest of the class, but as soon as they encounter a problem that requires some extra effort on their part, they will not be as successful, or they'll just kind of throw their hands up and stop working altogether. And finally, there will be a third group of students who will wonder what happened to my teacher. They'll almost feel abandoned and wonder why all of a sudden they have to do all the work. These are students who are missing the importance of and the value in working independently and kind of managing your own learning. So as a teacher, we just have to simply be aware that there is going to be a range of reactions to this and put in enough supports and resources and build in enough skills early on to help these two groups of students function more highly up here like this group. So we've put together a brief list of ideas for things you can do at the start of the school year with this in mind. Firstly, as you develop your syllabus for the year, think about including a list of required apps and add-ons that the students should download ahead of time. A simple list of classroom materials such as pens, and a notebook is probably not going to be good enough anymore. Think about developing also some kind of an attention signal, such as a raised hand that everybody has to mimic and be quiet, or a stadium-style wave, something creative to get their attention when you need. There's going to be a lot of independent work time and group work time, and you're going to want a quick, easy way to have everyone stop that work and listen to you so you can deliver some kind of a message. Also, think about developing a clear set of procedures for computer use and etiquette rules. There's going to be a lot of using computers and devices, and you want to make sure that the students know how to do it properly so you can focus on the work and not these housekeeping issues. Some ideas for doing this include simply saying the number 45. This means that students need to close their screens halfway at a 45-degree angle, kind of forcing them to not look at the screen and look up at the teacher. You also need to establish clear guidelines for proper computer or device storage. This is really only when the devices are stored in the classroom, but you want to make sure that the students put them away neatly, plugged in every time so that the next day they can be found and accessed easily and they're charged and ready to go. Lastly, you need to answer this question for your own classroom, and that is, are students allowed to use devices as soon as they come in? There's no right or wrong here. It's kind of whatever works for you. Maybe you want them to get started working as soon as they enter for the day, or maybe you don't. Maybe you want them to sit their seats so you can deliver some kind of a verbal message to the whole class whenever needed. You need to have a clearly defined set of rules and procedures for student accountability during blended lessons where it might be easy for students to get off track. They need to know that they will be held accountable for the work that they do or do not do. You should also make sure that the students know that you will be monitoring their progress and how you're going to be doing that, whether it's with an online program such as Hapara. Maybe they have to keep a journal that gets filled out daily on what they've done, problems they've encountered, and how they've solved those problems. Or if you're doing some kind of a daily or weekly formative assessment, they should be prepared for that and also know whether those things count towards their grade or whether they don't. You should also consider spending some time helping students be more self-aware of how they learn and study best. This is a question most of them have never had to consider before because they've never had the option. So you can, in school, have them take a test to identify their learning style. You can cover different styles of note-taking so they have some choices on how they do that. And also simply confront them with the question, what do you like better? Would you prefer to watch a video? Do you prefer to read the content? So that when they're working on their own, they can do whatever's best for them. And lastly, it's a really good idea to establish ahead of time some kind of a weekly or bi-weekly student-teacher check-in meeting that will force the students to discuss with you in a one-on-one setting their progress, what they've done so far, and whatever their goals are for the coming weeks. This really helps to keep them accountable. We also wanted to take some time in this video to discuss the issue of developing student perseverance. Students that are new to blended learning need some time and some new experiences to help them develop the grit or the perseverance they need to learn on their own. They have to understand that perhaps for the first time ever, they're the ones responsible for their own progress. So they're going to need to develop some skills around dealing with problems that they encounter as they work. So one good way to do this is simply compiling some kind of a class resources website that students know they can visit anytime they need extra help. This can include links to helpful YouTube channels or online textbooks. You might also want to consider teaching an entire lesson on what to do when you get stuck. We all know there's going to be some students who, when they encounter a problem, they kind of just throw their hands up and say, well, I can't do any work. What am I supposed to do now? You want to sort of give them a path to follow. So maybe develop a class checklist of things you can do in order when there's an issue. You also want to develop clear routines for what to do when students need help or have a question. A simple one is called 3 before me, which means anytime a student has a question, they have to consult 3 other sources, either online or other people in the class, before they come talk to the teacher. And the last one takes advantage of the biggest resource we have as teachers, and that is the class itself. You need to simply emphasize the importance and effectiveness of asking other students for help when needed. Thank you for watching. Here's a brief summary of everything we talked about in this video.